Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about The Umbrella Academy, Season 3, Episode 8. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we got an opening with Reginald back in 1918. It seems like he found the doorway that leads to, well, his project Oblivion. He built the entire... At first, I was like, wait, is that going to be like... It's like, right, that's where the hotel was built. So that entire place, owning and everything, he found the doorway all that time ago. It's always been there. He just gave it a physical representation now. And it seems like back then he tried to send people in there to kill everything that was in there. So once again, is that thing the only thing that's in there, or are there other beings there too like that? Because we keep seeing those bugs, so they have to be significant in some shape or form, because we've seen a few of them pop out, and there's some correlation to that world. But because Diego and Lila were only in the hotel, they never went outside of the hotel on that side of the world, on Oblivion. So the question is there anything else? Like, is the hotel the only thing that exists, or is it, once again, is there like a whole mirror world there? And is there more things like that thing that cut off Diego's fingers, or is that the only one? Like, were they? Because the soldiers were sent in there to kill that. Now we know, right? This is the mission, the suicide mission that Pogo was saying that Reginald was going to send the sparrows through. So the question then becomes, like, did the soldiers actually kill anything, or did that creature kill all of them? Because they sure all died. So was he planning? Did this Oblivion plan exist in the Umbrella Academy universe as well? Because Klaus is familiar with this hotel from the original timeline, so it was there. Maybe that was always going to be the plan, but maybe Reginald never decided to go down that route, but things played out differently in this timeline, so he did decide to go down this route. Maybe he abandoned that plan, because he never pushed the umbrellas, despite everything. He never pushed them the way he pushed the sparrows, because once again, Pogo never left. So that kind of plays into that whole element of it. But present day, turns out, the world's kind of doomed, and all that's left is in fact the hotel. Not just the world. I mean, it's the last thing standing. I do find it interesting that they're like, oh, we're the only ones standing because we're special. It's like, yeah, but am I the only one paying attention to the fact is you're not alone? That Chet seems to be the only other hotel person. I mean, maybe only other person left besides you guys. So why is it taking literally everyone else but them? But yeah, Ben kind of surmised what I thought. I was like, right, it has to be because of your powers that have prevented you all from getting killed. And he's like, right, we still have a mission. We can try and save the world. But 5 is like, no. My 100-year-old self was like, don't save the world. So maybe just enjoy Oblivion. Because even Luther's like, well, I mean, every time we do try to save the world, we save things for a day, pat ourselves on the back, and then things just get worse again. So maybe. And so kind of on that downer note, Luther decided, like, hey, we're getting married. I want everybody there. I'm going to have a bachelor's party. Even asking Ben to be his best man, which is really sweet. I think, I'm curious. I think it's funny they didn't lean into it because they didn't make a thing. But I'm surprised Diego didn't. I mean, 5 wasn't too all that about it. Klaus probably would have been like, "Oh, that's sweet." Diego, I don't know. I think Diego would have been like, "Oh, I appreciate that." But him and Diego have always butted heads. But that's them being close in their own way. But I do appreciate him asking Victor to do it. And Victor's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." And also ended up asking, like, do one more favor for me, too. Can you make good with Allison? But it's like, you're kind of asking a lot. He's like, what? Like, should I say, like, oh, why'd you kill my friend? It's like, but then Luther's like, yeah, but bringing up the same conversation 5 had. It's like, do you want to go with that body count conversation? Because you don't want to go there. So it's like, yeah, it kind of sucks. It's always kind of like, there's always a 1-2 punch when it comes towards everyone else towards Victor. Because it's like, oh, like, yeah, but also it's like, you've messed up in your own regard. And just like, he just wants Victor to reach out to Allison. But the thing is, Victor doesn't even do anything, and Allison takes jabs at him immediately. It kind of sucks. And it's like, but why do I have to be the one? Why does it have to be on my bucket list to make good with Allison? And Luther's like, because Allison has always been good to you, better than the rest of us, which is true. Because even in season 1, despite their issues and stuff, like I said, they were always decently enough on a good enough page, and then they grew closer. And because of Leonard of it all, they kind of had their issues. But then, once again, they were good in season 2, parts of the beginning of this season, and then it's just like, yeah, they just kind of all went to shit afterwards because of the whole Harlan of it all. But, despite all that, they also have their dad and Klaus showing up, and Klaus being like, even using the words, he's like, I'm immortal now, which, once again, I find funny. The fact is because, once again, his character in Misfits was immortal, so I love it. I think obviously he managed to have a shorter time frame than Nathan did, because once again it still took a while for Nathan to come back, and I think probably like Klaus is up to like a minute, down to a minute now, or we never got the exact timing of how long he's gotten down to, because the last number we specifically heard original say was 4 minutes, but it's most likely way lower than that now. So but Klaus is like, hey, like, Dad's here. And he tried to tell their dad to ease into it. And it's like, right, we've got this plan, Project Oblivion. He's like, I'm helping Klaus with his training and advance his abilities. I can do the same thing for all of you. To be fair, Allison, inadvertently kind of got some advancements in her powers. 5, to some extent, he just learned not to try so hard to go decades. Now he only goes minutes at a time. So that's what he can somewhat control when it comes to his time jumps. But no one else has made too much progress in what they can do, potentially. We haven't really crossed that lane yet. But nevertheless, I am curious, like, what would he help everyone with, and what new levels and bounds would everyone end up reaching with the advancements. But none of them want anything to do with Reginald after everything, and he's not even invited to the wedding and such, so it's kind of a bummer. A wedding at the end of the world. Well, universe, but I mean, for them it's like, well, the world is what matters, because like this is the last stretch of land that they're on, as everything else is burning and desolate, and most of the people are like 99.9% of the population is dead. So, and I love the karaoke and everyone enjoying themselves. It was kind of nice. 5 and Klaus doing a duet, and even Luther being like, yeah, I'm gonna miss this. And it's like, Victor's like, no, I won't. They suck. And he's like, that's not what I meant. And Victor's like, I know what you meant. I'm gonna miss them too. I think overall it was a beautiful thing, because as Luther says later on, it's like, right, this is all he ever wanted. He wanted them to be an actual big, real family, because that's why he went with the Sparrows, because he's like, right, like, are the only things holding the umbrellas together is our shitty childhood and trauma? Like, that's not the only thing that should hold a family together, but this kind of shows, like, right, there is love there, that, we can be a real family. I mean, families are dysfunctional. There is love, there is hate, all kinds of swirled emotions, and that's what makes family, I love Klaus trying to get Reginald. It's like, he's like, wow, they don't like me. It's like, oh yeah, they super deeply despise you. But what you need to do is try to reach out to them, not be a boss, be their father. And he's like, yeah, try and compliment me. And he's like, oh yeah, like complimented like Klaus on his head or something like that. And it's like, oh, okay. I was like, that's weird. But the wedding goes underway, and oh, poor Ben. He was kind of acting all pissy the entire episode, and he goes to Sloane, and Sloane's like, right, you finally get to be number 1 of 1, because she's like, I'm not a Sparrow anymore, because why, she's like, why is that so important to you? The fact is that with everything going on, you're still, because he's like, oh, you're forgetting about Faye and the others. It's like, no. She's like, what's bothering you the most, more than even Faye and the others dying, is the fact is you weren't invited to the bachelor party. He's like, what? That's crazy, because you feel like an outsider. Because all he's ever done is try to be number 1, and all it's done is made him such a huge asshole, and now he's ostracized everyone And now the only other member of his family is just kind of like, you kind of brought this upon yourself. Because why do you want to be a sparrow so badly? Because for Ben, it's like, at the end of the universe, it's all he has. He had nothing outside of that. He had no friends. Him and his siblings weren't necessarily close. That the fact is that even Sloane kind of brings up why they're so different. Because like he was like, no, we're a family, and that was something I brought up at the very beginning. Yeah, you guys are somewhat a well-oiled machine, but that's it. You're a team. You're not a family. Once again, as jacked up, as fucked up, and dysfunctional as this, Umbrellas are, they are still a family. Whether Luther and them can really realize, even Luther, even though Luther couldn't really see it at the time, just because there's just so much fallout sometimes. But it's like, yeah, they act more like a family than the Sparrows did. And once again, that's just because maybe, just how Reginald raised them in comparison to the Sparrows thing. He wasn't the same person. He had at least more humanity in their timeline than he did in this timeline. So, but yeah, without this mission, without this fight, without all of this, he has nothing. He doesn't have the rest of his family. He tried to become number one for what? It amounts to nothing now at the end of the universe. So he's trying to hold on to it. And, it's very much like Diego, where Diego felt the need to try and save John F. Kennedy, like that hero complex that Diego kind of had. It's like, yeah, Ben's kind of got that too. Which is interesting considering he was number 2. Granted, he was number 1 before he got demoted to number 2, but still. I love Klaus being the one who officiates the wedding and stuff. Do you take this banging hottie? And do you take this big hairy bastard? And he's getting emotional. He's like, for the next 24 to 48 hours, give her a day or two. Shh. And it's a beautiful celebration and everyone having fun. Sadly, the tables get divided the way they do. Diego initially was going to go, like, he wanted to, go with their dad to, like, figure this all out. It's like, right, try and save the world. But Lila's like, why would you do it? He's like, because I want to save this world, a world where you and me and the baby can grow together. And obviously Lila really appreciated that, because it's like, yeah, he thought long and hard about it. It's like, yeah, I want us to be a family, but she's like, you need to choose, save the world or be with me and the baby. And he chooses Lila, which I was kind of scared for a second that he wouldn't, but once again, showing how much he's grown and changed, that this whole being the hero thing, even he recognizes the BS that it was, that, that it was just him trying to fill a void inside of himself, that this mattered, Lila and the baby mattered more. I even thought it was interesting later on when Reginald showed up, everyone's like, wait, what is he doing here? And he's just sitting on his own, and then Klaus is looking at him like, come on, smile, and he smiles, and everyone's like, ugh. It's such a weird look on their dad for them. And so he ends up actually giving a speech that everyone was like, oh, actually, that was really sweet. Actually, I really like, too, that him and Lila hit it off. And it's like, oh, is that they're comparing British accents and stuff, which I think it's funny because Tom, who plays Luther, is actually British. And even Robert, who plays Klaus, is Irish. I believe they're the only ones that will have like a non-American accent, I think. I believe amongst them. Yeah. I think I've heard everyone talk outside of like this, outside of the Umbrella Academy. So I'm like, so I think that's kind of interesting. I think that's kind of funny. Did I say he was British or did I say he was Irish? I don't remember what I said about Robert. Because if I said he was British, I meant he was Irish. But I might have said he was Irish. Whatever, just covering my basis if I said that incorrectly before. Either way, I thought it was interesting too because Reginald was like, you would have made it. It's such a terrible time. He's like, you would have made a great father. And in that moment, like, Diego's almost like, wait, how did you know? I guess, like, the moment, like, maybe it's a weird thing to say, but, we don't know how his species operates, so maybe he could smell, like, that she was pregnant or something, or maybe he noticed they do say, like, that's always the thing of, like, oh, you got a certain glow about you, so maybe it's just that natural thing of, like, Lila has a certain glow about her, so I love that when Luther and Sloane were dancing, and she's like, aw, that's like us. And he was like, that's not like us at all. He's like, gross. And she slaps him in the face. He's like, now that's more like us. I was like, yeah, your relationship is super dysfunctional. I love, what was it? He chose to be with Lila because she's like, yeah, but because she was like, what happened? And he was like, yeah, I met a I met a crazy girl and changed my mind. I was like, they're so cute and just how jacked up that they are. Sadly, Victor did try to reach out to Allison, and it's like, I am sorry about everything, and I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I broke your trust. Can you forgive me? And Allison's like, no, never. It's like saying that you could, turning it back on Victor, being like, you sucked, because it's like you wanted us to have a good relationship. It's like, right, at the end of the world, like, why should I be the one to kind of like make amends to you? Which is kind of sucky, considering like Victor did take that step that you're not even willing to take. But she's just so angry right now. She can't, like, I'm not saying she's not justified in her anger, but with everything going on, she's like, even at the end of the world, she won't let this go. Understandable. It's her daughter. It was her foundation. It was her whole thing to hold on to, with everything going on, everything changing. But in that moment, she was just kind of saying, like, why should it be up to me? Because it's the whole thing of like, right, I've been nothing good to you, and you kind of screwed me over. You hurt me. You did this. Like, it's irreparable damage. It's like, just like, I would not forgive you. I don't think I ever will. You wanted to have a good relationship. You wanted us to be closer, which we were, and then you're the one that fucked it all up. But even later on, Luther, because he had saw that go down, he even tells Victor, he's like, I saw what happened, and I appreciate the fact is you tried, because Victor did that, for his own sake, because it's like, right, he wanted to make things good with Allison, but he also did it for Luther's sake, because like that's the one thing like Luther had asked him, because he had brought up the good point of it, right, Allison had always been good to Victor despite the complications and such. And it's kind of sad that, I mean, especially because Diego and Luther made that point early on of like, oh yeah, look at these two together. And it's like, yeah, that now, I guess that was also the setup to be like foreshadowing like how bad the fallout was going to be from this. I did also like the conversation between Klaus and Ben, because Ben said, why? Like, the fact is, Dad got invited to the wedding, and I didn't. To be fair, he wasn't invited. He kind of crashed the wedding, but it's like, yeah, and I don't even get invited to the bachelor party. He's drinking and eating shrimp. And it's like, yeah, what was so great about your Ben? And it's like, yeah, our Ben had his issues and stuff like that too. But he's like, but look at, Klaus is basically like, yeah, but look at our family. We're a mess, and that's okay. Because, once again, he underestimated this family because he thought, like, yeah, they were kind of a mess. Like, oh, he took them as a joke, and that's why they kind of lost to this family time and time again. Why? Because they kept underestimating them. Because he's also, once again, trying to be, he's like, right, you're up here, like, no one's, like, well-dressed and being on top of everything like Reginald kind of raised you guys. We're a hot mess, but still, it works for us. And that's always been our thing. Which it seems like this Ben, as Klaus puts it, the new Ben, is kind of a mess, too. So he gets to sit back and relax. He's like, hey, Luther's like, all right, come on in. Sit down, we're all gathered around. Sadly, the only person that wasn't there was Allison. Because how can she be happy for everyone else when, like, she's like, I won't even say miserable, just like so beaten down and hopeless, which makes me think the person that because Five didn't get to see who it was, but someone is talking to Reginald like, we got to make this happen. I'm assuming it's only two choices for me. It's either Victor making another like unilateral decision, which probably could blow it back in their face, but Victor might feel like, no, this is my responsibility. I need to make things right. Even if Allison will never forgive me, I can die, or at least I can try to make things right. And so Victor's tried time and time again and could end up making things worse. There's that element to it. But I'm also thinking it could be Allison. Because Allison has literally nothing left. It feels that she has nothing left when she still has her family, but she feels like she doesn't have anything to ground her. She doesn't have clarity. She doesn't have anything. So for her, it's just kind of like, right, whatever you need us to do, if there's a chance of saving the world, maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm done with life, and she's going to try and get her, and she's going to end up getting her. If I die, cool. If I manage to do something, that's fine. Either way, nothing matters. Like, she's kind of in that mindset, despite her and Lila's conversations last episode, but I don't know. It could severely go either way. I think it'd be interesting if it makes sense for it to be Allison, and that maybe Victor sacrifices himself to save Allison, and that or at the very least shows up to save Allison, and that's what kind of sparks everything to maybe at the end for them to be okay again, or maybe Victor doesn't make it out of this in an attempt to save Allison, sacrificing himself. I'm scared because I feel like things are not going to work out for Victor. And I mean, just with everything going on, and like I brought up, because I brought it up earlier in the season, I get the feeling like there's just two ways that Victor thing is going to play out. Either putting Victor under like medication and rumoring him to forget his powers, or once again dying because that power is too much to be left unchecked, and Five making the whole point of like, oh, I'll kill you if you lie to us again, and yada 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 and so forth. Sadly, Five was drunk at the time, severely drunk, and so he didn't actually get to see who it was, and he ended up passing out in the elevator when it's all said and done. But I am curious in the end what it is that Reginald really plans on doing. Like, is he trying to was he trying to clear out that world because he was trying to be like, right, this world is kind of doomed, and he's trying to make a new world, a new fresh start. Like, I don't know what his plan is. Like, how could you, like, everything kind of seems done in the sense that even if this universe collapses, does that Oblivion, does that count as a different universe? So will is it a universe? Is it kind of like that Doctor Who thing where we found out there's actually another universe, but it was kind of making the present universe sick? So, well, because this is a collapse of this universe. I don't know if it would necessarily affect. Well, because I think, yeah, because multiverses are like a different universe entirely. So would it be the collapse of the multiverse? Because I haven't really dabbled in that, but I wonder, is that what that's supposed to be? Like, yeah, that's another universe. So if they go in there, they could be fine, but it would be walking into immediate death because that place is a death trap. Questions like that. I don't know what his ultimate plan is in the long run. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.